monarchy will be shifting in a slightly different direction.
I think it's safe to say that change is...
The orchestra had already begun warming up. The chandeliers were glowing. The guest list had been checked twice, and Britain's most carefully managed royal evening appeared ready to begin. Then Prince William looked toward the entrance line and saw one face that changed everything. Within moments, the future king raised his hand, summoned a senior aide, and issued an order no one inside the palace expected to hear. The royal gala was cancelled immediately. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. William did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The Crown Heritage Gala, a Buckingham Palace event created to honor charities connected to him and Catherine, had been designed to prove that the prince could lead with control and independence. Diplomats, aristocrats, cultural figures, and charity representatives had arrived. Every detail mattered because this was more than a celebration. It was a test of the future king's authority. Catherine saw his expression change before anyone understood why. The official guest line, meaning the approved order in which attendees would be greeted and photographed, placed its most important names at the front. William stared at Tom Parker Bowles standing among senior royal representatives, despite Tom's absence from the final list he had approved. The prince lowered the program in his hand and told the master of ceremonies, "Do not open the ballroom doors." The official hesitated. William kept one hand raised and repeated the order with chilling calm. "The gala is cancelled." Catherine moved closer and quietly asked whether he was certain. He answered that continuing would suggest Camilla's family could be elevated into official royal space without his consent. That was a message he refused to endorse. Camilla froze when an aide delivered the news. The queen consort had been preparing to enter when she learned her son's presence had triggered the cancellation. Embarrassment struck first. Fury followed. A private family tension had erupted before influential guests in Britain. A senior equerry, an officer responsible for royal arrangements, checked the records and found Tom's name had been inserted late through authorization, linked to Camilla's private office. The change had bypassed William's event team and placed her son where official crown representatives normally stood. William refused to leave. He ordered every version of the guest list brought to his private sitting room. Charles soon received the news, studied the altered page, and asked the question that changed the crisis completely. Who moved Tom's name? But the cancellation was only the public explosion. The real danger lay in the personal loyalties hidden behind the altered guest list. To the waiting guests, Tom Parker Bowles was simply the unexpected man in the wrong line. To Camilla, he was her son, a member of her family she believed had endured years of scrutiny without receiving the respect she felt he deserved. To William, however, Tom's sudden appearance represented something far larger. The quiet expansion of a rival family network inside an institution he would one day inherit. Camilla found him waiting in a smaller reception room after the cancellation, still holding the embossed invitation that had brought him there. She reached for his hand and apologized before he could speak. Tom did not pull away, but he placed the card on the table between them and asked the question she had been avoiding. "Was I invited as your son, or displayed as something else?" For a moment, the queen consort had no answer. Tom had always belonged to her private life, not to the working monarchy. That distinction mattered because a working royal is someone who carries out official duties on behalf of the crown, while a private family member holds no such public role. Camilla had spent years trying to protect him from the harsh judgment surrounding her own rise. Yet the higher she climbed, the harder it became to separate her position from the people she loved. William saw the danger differently. He was no longer reacting only as Charles's son. The prince was preparing to inherit the crown and had become determined to separate personal access from official authority. The gala was meant to prove that discipline. Tom's place in the front line, therefore, felt less like a social invitation and more like a deliberate test of how far Camilla's household could push. Camilla insisted her son had asked for nothing. Her voice tightened as she argued that he had come to support her and should not be humiliated because two branches of the family could not settle their history. Then her anger cracked. She realized Tom might now carry the blame for a decision made behind his back. William refused to speak recklessly, but Catherine knew what lived beneath his restraint. His childhood, his mother's memory, and the painful way a private relationship had become part of the monarchy still shaped his instincts. She also admitted something more troubling. She had noticed growing pressure to include Camilla's relatives in ceremonial roles, and had warned him that this event might be used to test the limits. Tom's invitation deepened the mystery. He told a palace official it had arrived through Camilla's household, and that he believed it had been fully approved. The guest line diagram proved otherwise. He had been placed between a senior royal patron and an overseas ambassador, a position designed to make him appear officially connected to the crown. Then William learned this was not the first royal document on which Tom's name had appeared without his knowledge. That discovery led back to an earlier ceremony, where one small seating request became the point of no return. The Gala cancellation did not begin at the palace entrance. Its true origin lay 6 weeks earlier, during a private royal charity dinner at Clarence House. There, beneath polite conversation and carefully arranged place cards, Camilla made a request that William considered impossible to ignore. It lasted less than 2 minutes. No voices were raised. Yet everyone who witnessed the exchange later understood that this was the point from which the family could no longer retreat. Charles had invited only a small circle that evening: Camilla, William, Catherine, several charity trustees, and Tom Parker Bowles as a private family guest. Clarence House, the King and Queen Consort's London residence, was meant to offer a more personal setting than Buckingham Palace. Tom's original seat reflected that distinction. He had been placed away from the principal table, where guests performing official duties on behalf of the crown were gathered. Camilla had grown increasingly frustrated with that separation. Her private household had been quietly pressing for greater recognition of people close to her, presenting each request as harmless inclusion. William saw something else. He believed repeated appearances beside senior royals could slowly create the impression that her relatives held formal status, even when no such role had ever been granted. Then came the moment everything changed. Camilla leaned toward an aide and asked for Tom's place card to be moved beside Charles. A footman lifted it and carried it toward the head table, the principal seating area reserved for the evening's official royal hosts and leading guests. Before the card could be set down, William placed 2 fingers over it. "That seat carries a duty," the prince said quietly. "And my family carries a cost," Camilla replied. Charles watched without speaking, his silence cut deeper than an argument. William took it as permission for the boundary to be tested again, while the Queen Consort saw it as proof that the king understood her position. One silence, 2 meanings, and neither side was willing to forget it. Catherine approached William after the dinner and warned that challenging every symbolic gesture could make him appear consumed by old resentment. He answered that symbols became precedent when no one stopped them. A veteran courtier later reinforced that fear through a private recorded briefing, explaining that seating charts, invitations, and introductions formed the monarchy's public language. Repetition could turn appearance into expectation. The altered gala list followed the same pattern exactly. Tom had once again been placed among people carrying official responsibilities. To William, that resemblance destroyed any claim of innocent error. He made his decision before Charles could soften the dispute. This time, there would be no message through aides and no quiet compromise. 6 weeks later, William and Camilla would face each other directly, without place cards, courtiers, or ceremonial politeness to protect them. The palace expected Charles to control the crisis. William prevented that from happening. Before the king could convene a formal meeting, the prince entered Camilla's private sitting room and asked every aide to leave. The door closed behind them. For the first time since the gala was cancelled, there were no officials to reinterpret their words, and no carefully drafted statement to soften the conflict. There was only a future king, a furious queen consort, and decades of unresolved pain. William carried the altered guest list in one hand and Tom's embossed invitation in the other. He did not accuse the staff. He did not blame a careless clerk. The prince placed both documents on the table and asked Camilla one direct question: had she personally authorized her son's position in the official line? Camilla did not shrink from him. She admitted approving Tom's attendance, but insisted her office had handled the exact placement. The queen consort argued that canceling the entire evening had punished charities, embarrassed guests, and humiliated employees, who had spent weeks preparing. To her, his response was not discipline. It was destruction. William pushed the guest line diagram toward her. The chart, a formal plan showing where each approved guest would stand, placed Tom among people representing the crown. He said the issue was never simply his presence. It was the attempt to make a private relative appear part of the royal institution. Camilla shoved the paper back. He stopped it with his palm. "You canceled an evening to humiliate my son," she said. "I canceled it because someone tried to change what the crown means without asking the man expected to inherit it," William replied. Then the argument became personal. Camilla accused him of hiding resentment behind constitutional language. She said he was punishing her children for choices made by adults decades earlier. William's control nearly broke. He answered that he was protecting George, Charlotte, and Louis from inheriting a monarchy where private affection could quietly become public power. The queen consort saw the wound beneath his words. She told him he was not merely afraid of Tom gaining influence. He feared that accepting her family publicly would look like acceptance of everything that had caused Diana pain. William did not deny that history mattered, but he refused to let revenge become the explanation for every boundary he defended. Then Camilla revealed something far more dangerous. Charles had known Tom would attend. She did not claim the king approved the placement, yet the admission shifted the crisis toward him. William responded by producing a memorandum drafted after the Clarence House dinner, a written proposal separating private relatives from official representatives. Before either could continue, Charles opened the door. With the king standing between them, the conflict became a test of where royal authority truly rested. Charles had spent years balancing two identities that could never fully coexist: the monarch responsible for preserving the crown, and the husband determined to protect the woman beside him. The altered guest list forced those identities into direct collision. William demanded rules. Camilla demanded dignity. Both expected the king to defend them. Yet when Charles finally examined the paperwork, he discovered that the crisis was more deliberate and more dangerous than either side understood. Charles possessed the final authority over household protocol, the system of rules controlling how royal events were organized. But William had been named principal host of the Gala and controlled the charities at its heart. The king commanded the wider institution. The prince controlled this evening. That division meant the cancellation could not simply be dismissed as a son defying his father. Royal appearances carried meaning far beyond polite greetings. Guest positions, introductions, photographs, and seating arrangements quietly told the public who belonged close to power. One private relative in an official line might seem harmless. Repeated often enough, however, the image could create expectations of rank, access, and influence that had never been formally granted. Charles dismissed his advisors and studied 3 versions of the guest list alone. On the first, Tom's name appeared among private attendees. On the second, it moved closer to the official delegation. On the final version, he stood beside senior figures representing the crown. The king removed his glasses, placed them beside the papers, and said nothing. The pattern had become impossible to deny. William's anger suddenly made painful sense. Charles knew his son believed too many decisions during his childhood had been made without considering the emotional damage they caused. If the monarch defended Camilla without qualification now, he risked confirming William's deepest fear, that private loyalties would always outrank his pain. Yet Charles also remembered what she had endured. He understood why the queen consort wanted Tom protected from being treated as permanently unwelcome. Her instinct was maternal, but the judgment of her household had turned that instinct into a political threat. Then the investigation uncovered the copied code. An authorization mark linked to the king's private secretary appeared beside Tom's name, suggesting Charles had approved the placement. The secretary denied it in a documented account and confirmed that the code had been lifted from an earlier event file. A senior coordinator from Camilla's household had used it deliberately, believing her relatives deserved appropriate family recognition. The official had bypassed William's team to avoid rejection. Charles summoned his son, turned the altered list toward him, and tapped the false approval. "You were right that the process was breached," the king said. "That is not the same as saying I was right to stop it," William replied. Charles looked toward the closed door behind which Camilla waited. His decision would expose the breach completely, but it would also leave her painfully unprotected. By midnight, the palace had moved beyond arguments and into consequences. The gala could not be restored. Hundreds of guests had already departed. Charities were demanding explanations, and the unauthorized invitation had become a matter of royal governance. Charles now faced a choice between quiet concealment and visible discipline. His answer protected the institution, but it left Camilla confronting a reality she had resisted for years. The crown would never treat her children as extensions of her rank. Charles confirmed that William had possessed the authority to cancel the gala once the approved guest protocol had been breached. That protocol was the formal system controlling who could attend, where they would stand, and how they would be presented. The king also ordered a complete review of invitations issued through every royal household, making it clear that the failure could not be buried as a minor clerical error. Then came the written directive. Relatives of those who married into the royal family could still attend private gatherings, but they could not be placed among official representatives without approval from both the principal host and the sovereign's office. The rule was precise. Its meaning was brutal. Camilla's position belonged to her alone. She read the document in silence. When the queen consort reached the paragraph separating private relatives from public royal figures, she lowered the pages and looked at Tom's abandoned invitation. Anger had carried her through the confrontation. Now grief took its place. Tom sat beside her and admitted he should have questioned the placement before arriving. He had never wanted ceremonial recognition, he said, and never asked to be treated as part of the working monarchy. Camilla insisted he had done nothing wrong. Her son answered that her attempt to protect him had turned him into the symbol of a conflict he had never chosen. The consequences deepened when the household coordinator who altered the list was suspended from ceremonial duties. In a documented departure statement, the official revealed that similar adjustments had appeared at earlier events. The gala had not been an isolated mistake. It had been the boldest step in a pattern. William refused to make Tom pay for it. The prince sent a private message confirming that he remained welcome at family gatherings and had not been personally barred. His objection concerned the unauthorized creation of royal status, not Tom's place within the family. Camilla rejected that distinction at first. She told Charles that her son had still been humiliated before powerful guests. The king replied that denying the difference would turn one protocol breach into a permanent war. Tom then removed the invitation from his pocket, tore it through the center, and placed the pieces beside his mother. She reached to stop him, but too late. The crisis had been settled on paper. Its emotional truth now required William and Tom to meet without a mother, a monarch, or a single document between them. The turning point did not happen before cameras, advisors, or senior courtiers. It occurred the following morning in a small room at Kensington Palace, where William met Tom alone. For once, neither man entered as an extension of his parent. One was not the king's heir. The other was not the queen consort's son. They were simply two people whose lives had been shaped by a relationship neither of them created, and a history neither could completely escape. Catherine had arranged the meeting because she understood what formal statements could never repair. Unless the two men spoke directly, resentment would harden into something permanent. William agreed reluctantly, but only after insisting there would be no aides, no recorded account, and no palace official waiting outside to reinterpret what was said. Tom arrived carrying the torn invitation pieces. He placed them on the table without ceremony and told William exactly what the cancellation had done. It had made him look like an intruder, a man trying to force his way into a monarchy that had never truly wanted him. The prince listened without interrupting. William answered carefully. He said allowing the guest line to continue would have created a precedent, meaning an action that could later be used to justify similar decisions. Someone had deliberately placed Tom among official representatives without approval. If the future king had accepted it, the boundary would have weakened the moment the ballroom doors opened. Tom did not deny the breach. He challenged the cost. Charities had been embarrassed. Guests had been sent away. Staff had watched weeks of work collapse. William admitted that innocent people had been pulled into a struggle they did not create. He did not apologize for stopping the unauthorized placement, but he acknowledged that the method had carried a human price, and that Tom had paid more of it than anyone else. Then came the truth neither man expected to hear aloud. Tom explained that Camilla wanted him present, but she had never instructed anyone to place him beside the ambassador. Her coordinator had exaggerated the request, believing greater prominence would please the queen consort. William accepted that she might not have designed the entire scheme. Still, he argued that her repeated pressure for family recognition had created an atmosphere in which staff believed they were serving her wishes. Silence followed. Tom pushed the torn invitation toward him. William studied it, then slid it back without touching the royal crest. "You should never have been placed in that line," the prince said. "Then next time, speak to me before you close the doors on everyone," Tom replied. After a long pause, William nodded. They agreed that every future invitation would clearly state whether Tom attended privately or ceremonially. William promised he would never again assume his involvement without first confronting him directly. The private truth had finally become clear, but outside the palace gates, the country was already forming a far harsher verdict. By sunrise, the cancelled gala was no longer a private royal dispute. It had become a national argument about blood, marriage, privilege, and the future shape of the monarchy. Some saw William's decision as an act of necessary discipline. Others viewed it as a public humiliation driven by old wounds. Yet one image dominated every broadcast: guests in evening dress leaving Buckingham Palace beneath darkened ballroom windows, while the royal entrance remained firmly closed. The palace moved quickly, but not boldly. Its official statement confirmed that the gala had been cancelled because approved event procedure had been breached. That phrase referred to the rules controlling invitations, guest positions, and official royal representation. Tom was not named. Instead, the message insisted that the decision protected the charities involved and prevented confusion over who was formally acting for the crown. The explanation satisfied almost no one. Broadcasters split into opposing camps before breakfast. Constitutional commentators argued that William had defended a necessary boundary after an unauthorized invitation was used to create false status. Society writers focused on the family beneath the protocol, asking whether the prince had allowed childhood pain to overwhelm public duty, strength or cruelty, discipline or resentment. The country began choosing sides. A major London newspaper captured the fury with a full-page photograph of the closed palace entrance beneath 4 words: "William shuts the door." A smaller image showed Tom leaving through a side gate, the invitation still visible in his hand. During the morning program, a presenter raised the front page and called it the defining image of a monarchy fighting over belonging. Camilla watched from her private sitting room. The queen consort remained still, as footage of her son's departure played again and again. Then a commentator described him as a royal outsider seeking an inside place. She reached for the remote, switched off the television, and sat in silence. She knew the phrase was powerful. She also knew it was false. By midday, a crowd had formed beside the Buckingham Palace railings. Some applauded when a car believed to carry William passed. Others held handwritten signs demanding that the family stop turning private pain into public ceremony. Inside, Charles faced another decision. Advisors debated releasing the full findings, including proof that an old approval code had been copied. Silence would make his son appear impulsive. Disclosure would expose disorder inside Camilla's household. Tom finally broke the tension through a written public statement. He confirmed that he attended in good faith, knew nothing about the altered placement, and accepted the palace clarification. His refusal to condemn William weakened claims of permanent war. The public had chosen its heroes and villains. Now Charles prepared a final family meeting, knowing the true verdict had to come from the man whose silence had allowed the crisis to grow. The final meeting contained no shouting and produced no dramatic surrender. Instead, Charles gathered William, Camilla, Catherine, and Tom around a table stripped of ceremonial papers and official folders. The king understood that rules alone could prevent another altered guest list, but they could not repair the humiliation, anger, or inherited pain exposed by the cancelled gala. To end the crisis, each person would have to accept a truth that protected neither pride nor reputation completely. Charles spoke first. He admitted that he should have drawn firm boundaries years earlier, before affection, guilt, and protocol became dangerously tangled. Royal protocol, the system of rules controlling official roles and public conduct, had weakened because he avoided painful conversations about Camilla's family. The monarch accepted that his silence had allowed confusion to become conflict. The king confirmed that the new directive would remain permanent. Camilla's children would be welcomed as private family members, but they would not be presented as representatives of the crown unless a formal public role had been approved. The rule did not reject them. It protected the institution from quiet changes disguised as courtesy. William turned to Tom and explained that the gala had not been cancelled because he lacked dignity or worth. The prince acted because status could not be created through repeated appearances, altered invitations, or arranged photographs. He accepted that his decision caused pain and apologized for failing to speak to Tom before the humiliation became public. Tom accepted the apology. He told William that he had never wanted a royal position, but he asked to be treated as a person before being treated as a constitutional symbol. The future king agreed without qualification. Camilla faced the hardest truth next. She admitted that her desire to shield her son had influenced her judgment. The queen consort would never apologize for loving him, but she accepted that her title could not pass to her children through proximity, seating, or access. Charles then validated William's authority as principal host, meaning the royal figure responsible for that event. 4 weeks later, the Crown Heritage Gala returned to its charitable purpose. Tom stayed away by choice. Catherine stood beside William, while Camilla entered with Charles. The future king paused before the ballroom doors opened. Catherine took his hand. Across the room, Camilla offered a restrained nod, and he returned it. There was no warmth, but there was recognition. William's decision had been severe, yet its meaning was clear. The monarchy could survive embarrassment and disagreement. It could not survive confusion over where private love ended and public authority began. The cancellation hurt everyone, but it restored order, accountability, and truth. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.